From predator to pet, the genetic journey from wolves to dogs. How did we get dogs from wolves so quickly? They look different, they behave different, yet they have very similar DNA. So, what could be the cause? Each cell in a body contains a large amount of DNA, but only 2% of this DNA is used to make proteins. In fact, the DNA sequence that holds information of how to make proteins is called a gene. The largest part of the DNA, 98%, is lacking protein-making information and was once called the junk DNA. Recently, we find that this junk DNA is far from being used as junk. This junk part actually contains special control regions which decide to turn genes on or off depending on different points in time and cell type. These regulators tell when and where and how much of a protein to make in a given cell. How is this related to dog evolution? Well, there is far too little difference between dog and wolf proteins to explain the differences in how they look and behave. However, there are significant differences between the control regions in wolves and dogs. We think that differences in these control regions and different connections could explain some of the differences seen between dogs and wolves. In other words, it is not that wolves and dogs have different proteins, but the same proteins are regulated in a different manner to produce different looks and behaviors. In our research, we look for these control regions in the DNA of dogs and wolves and also find which proteins they regulate. We then try to connect the differences we see on the DNA level to the differences we see in these animals. Finally, these results can help us to understand complex diseases. Similar to comparing dogs and wolves, when we compare the DNA from sick people with diabetes or heart disease and healthy people, we see almost no difference in proteins. We research how different regulation of proteins can start and progress these complex diseases, making way for the better management, treatment, and prevention.